Hello, folks, and welcome to my channel. Um, Today's topic is going to be on the national concealed carry reciprocity. I was just wondering, let's say I'm planning a trip and I'll be crossing 3 or 4 different states, and what do I do? Normally, I should be looking at the reciprocity map and making sure that the states I'll be crossing through, which ones are having reciprocity with my home state, which is Minnesota, and those, if they don't have it, what am I supposed to do? All that, you know, all those questions. And then, of course, that made me wonder what's going on with the new law proposed in January, actually January 3rd of this year, under the Trump administration. And there is now a new law proposed, and under the active investigation, active consideration, I should say, to make it a law. But it is a long ways. It is definitely a progress, in my opinion. I'm a kind of optimistic guy, and I'm seeing this optimistically, that under the Trump administration, now we got a bigger shot to make that happen. I know this is not a new thing. This has been going on years. In fact, more than a decade. The whole reciprocity thing. On several attempts have been were made in the history, and they all failed. None of them actually went into completion. Again, there is a new sheriff in town, and I'm hoping that this is going to help quite a bit. There are some significant achievements, obviously, but again, there are lots of challenges still on the way. And I was just curious what the status is. So let's kind of look at it from the beginning. So again, this year, January 3rd of 2025, Representative Richard Hudson, he's a Republican from North Carolina, on January 3rd of this year, he brought it to floor. This bill aims to allow individuals with valid concealed carry permits from their home states or those from constitutional carry states to legally carry concealed firearms in other states that permit concealed carry. It also provides legal protections for individuals who face interference with these rights. So this is the goal of this bill. But, again, what is the status? What's happening? And realistically and practically, what should we expect? Besides that one, there's a companion bill has been also introduced in the Senate by Senators John Boozman, Republican from Arkansas, and also John Cornyn, Republican, Texas, with support from numerous Republican co-sponsors. This Senate version emphasizes treating concealed carry permits similarly to driver's licenses recognized across state lines while adhering to each state's specific laws. And that's also another, I would consider, a significant progress. So there are two bills, one in the Senate and one in the House, HR38, which is basically supporting the national reciprocity for the concealed carry permits. But again, there are a lot of political obstacles to achieve all these goals. So I was curious, I was looking into that, what are those? And what I found out is that there are basically, we can categorize them into 7 different groups or 7 different categories. And those are like federalism and state rights. That's one. Second one is constitutional and legal challenges. Third one is Senate filibuster and political gridlock. Fourth one is public safety and law enforcement concerns. And fifth one is divergent permit standards across states. Sixth one is lobbying by gun control groups. And last one, not the least, the shifting public opinion. So all these 7 categories are presenting themselves as potential obstacles and challenges for the gun rights community to achieve the ultimate goal of national reciprocity. Let's take a look at them, each of those categories, one by one. Federalism versus state rights. The core issue here is the U.S. Constitution gives states significant power to regulate firearms within their borders. The obstacle is many states argue that national reciprocity would infringe on their authority to set and enforce their own gun laws. Example, training, background checks, age limits, those kinds of. And for instance, we can count the states such as California, New York, New Jersey. Those, when we look at them, they're all blue states, and obviously they will be making the most noise when it comes to national reciprocity. The second one is constitutional legal challenges. What are the constitutional legal challenges? 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution is given the states a significant amount of power in compared to federal law and the regulations. And they would be feeling kind of infringed. For instance, like I just mentioned, one state is requiring a lot of serious limitations or conditions, let's say, to give a permit to somebody, whereas another state may be a constitutional carry. There's absolutely no permit needed, absolutely no background checks, and nothing. So these two states, it's hard to reconcile this situation between those. A person who's carrying one from a constitutional carry state, let's say driving to New York City, now it's going to be tough. That's the constitutional legal challenges. The third one is a Senate filibuster and political gridlock. The Senate hurdle is, even if the bill passes in the House, it likely faces a filibuster in the Senate, which requires 60 votes to advance. Given the Senate's current polarization, this is unlikely without significant bipartisan support. And also there is a Democratic opposition, which is well known, and Democrats, particularly in the blue states, are strictly opposing this kind of gun laws, the national reciprocity. The fourth one is the public safety and law enforcement concerns. There are police warriors. What are those? National police organizations and law enforcement leaders have voiced concerns over verifying out-of-state permits quickly and safely during stops or investigations. And there's also safety standards. Some states require training, background checks, or even psychological evaluations for permits. Reciprocity could allow individuals from states with no such requirements to carry in stricter states. Like the example I gave earlier, somebody with a constitutional carry right can in fact carry under the national reciprocity in a state with more, or actually a lot more rigorous requirements. Number 5 is divergent permit standards across the states, which is what we just discussed. There is a wide variability. Some states issue permits with minimal oversight, example, no training or permit required, such as constitutional carry, while others require extensive vetting. The result is a person disqualified from carrying in one state because of those strict regulations and conditions could legally carry if they obtain a permit from a more permissive state. So that's a conflicting situation. The number 6 category is lobbying by gun control groups. There's a powerful opposition. Groups like Evertown for Gun Safety and Brady United actively campaign against reciprocity bills, emphasizing concerns about increased gun violence and diminished state control. You remember that this organization, this group, was established after the famous Brady laws during the Clinton administration. Brady was a guy who was actually one of the bodyguards. He was one of the I shouldn't say bodyguards. He was one of the security details of Ronald Reagan when there was a suicide attempt on him, and he got shot, and he was actually, for the rest of his life, he was in a wheelchair. So that's where the law comes from originally. The Brady laws, was established for 10 years. They were on the books. Started with the Clinton administration. So there's a strong opposition, like a strong lobbying groups like this one, Evertown for Gun Safety and Brady United. Also, political donations and ad campaigns have swayed lawmakers in key swing states to oppose to laws such as the national reciprocity. And the last category, the number 7, is the shifting public opinion. Gun policy divides. Surveys show Americans are deeply divided on gun rights versus gun control. While many support gun ownership, there is a strong support, especially among suburban voters, for a local control and stricter vetting. In mass shootings, those school shootings mostly, each high-profile shooting often renews calls for tighter, not looser, gun laws, making passage politically even more difficult. So basically, what the situation here is although, in my opinion, there are reasons that should make us somewhat lot more optimistic in compared to earlier times, there are still significant and important obstacles and challenges, and primarily we can group them into 3: the legal, the political, and social. And the legal aspect is federalism versus the state sovereignty, which I mentioned earlier. And the political is a Senate filibuster and party opposition. And the social is public safety concerns and lobbying efforts. So unless there is a significant political shift in Congress or a compromised version of the bill is crafted, nationwide reciprocity for concealed carry rights is likely to remain a contentious and unresolved issue. So I'm just thinking now out loud. Would it be practically possible to achieve this? I want to believe yes, and I want to say yes, it would be achievable. And one example I can think, and I'm just, like I said, I'm kind of brainstorming. On top of having, let's say in the state of Minnesota, where I live, my home state is Minnesota, I have to have a permit. This is a blue state, obviously, and I cannot have a constitutional carry. And every 5 years, I have to renew it by sitting through a class, and again, taking the shooting test and paying the fee, and I have to renew it every 5 years. That's fine. I'm okay with that. So maybe on top of that, each state, and that includes the obviously constitutional carry states, and states like Minnesota, I would be willing to have what I call is enhanced permit, meaning it would be satisfying pretty much all state requirements, but not as in the current state of the state requirements. Let's say extremely strict states such as California and New York City, or Boston, or Massachusetts, they should, if they can come a little bit, be willing to meet with the other states somewhere in the middle point, and then they can kind of compromise and they can negotiate and come up with some kind of a additional enhanced version of the permit on top of the one that a person has to have in his or her home state. Maybe that would be, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud and brainstorming. But I believe, and I want to believe, eventually this will become a law, because the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution is given all Americans, every law-abiding adult with a sound mental condition, right to bear arms, to defend himself or herself or his own family and friends and loved ones, and property. And that right should not be ending in a state line. If I'm crossing 4 different states, I should not be worried about, okay, now from this point A to point B within this state, I should do this. Once I cross the state line, I should do that. No, that is ridiculous. In this situation is actually in certain environments is way more ridiculous and complicated. In fact, within even the same state, certain areas have different applications of the law or interpretations of the law. So that is ridiculous. And that should be fixed once and for all under the national reciprocity for all concealed carry rights. Thank you very much. Stay safe.